Banino, Fetelo, Iluya Banini, Lusulayo, Ake Banino, Fetelo. All right, let me say good morning, good afternoon to all of you. Yeah, no matter what it is, you're not gonna give up. All right, guys, a beautiful day here today, this evening, especially here in the United Kingdom. It's great to be back with you. It's great to be brand new. We have to shave our hair because, you know, we've been running this campaign for Bring Back Our Money, you know, bring our $16 billion back since the day started. So with the good news yesterday, we decided to shave ourselves, and you know, maybe it looks a bit newer, you know, and thing. But we can talk about it a little bit. I got about 8 minutes from now we join our studio guest. Thank you very much, all of you. Thanks for joining in. Nathaniel, what's up? I hope you share as well. You share the video on your platform, not all the big brothers or the big sisters and thing. Welcome to the show. Probably you know, we will come to that later, but I just want to share something with you. You know, I like writing, and I'm a poet. Just to let you know, I do write, you know, for academic purpose, but at the same time I'm also a poet. So I want to read this poem I wrote a couple of years ago here in the UK. It's published as well. I want to read it just to remind me of how things were. And this poem is entitled, My Presence is Here, But. My presence is here, but. My presence is here, but. My heart is in the alleyways of Monrovia. My tongue utters its name. My lips sing a song of Monrovia. The trees, even the cotton trees, are shadowed in inky blue. The palaver heart doors never open. Matters are no longer settled in there. Years, months, weeks, days, mourning Monrovia. Oh, traveler, traverse my town silently. For in the morning is Monrovia, in the evening is Monrovia. Even when it is bedtime, there is Monrovia. Who is concerned? Who is strong-hearted enough to say a word? He who knows its streets, its places. Murmurs, where am I? In Monrovia. Oh God, you who are both benevolent and worthful, your magnificence disposed elsewhere. Your anger, your very anger is vented on Monrovia. Mother of the Lone Star, undeserving of this cruelty, undeserving of this affliction, Monrovia complains, shouts, screams, and cries. This was not preordained. Dark days, dark times, sober days, the destiny and mystery of Morovia. Day in, day out, they asked, what is happening? What is going on in the box of matches? Only the plant of sadness grows in the wind, in the wetland of Morovia. Morning is the morning of Morovia. Sorrow its night. Even the trees no longer express their colorful nature. The air is full of smells of poison. All adventures have a beginning and an end. An adventure without full stop is Morovia. The lips can no longer show their color. The tears have finally taken over. The hand of God must surely intervene. The hand of Satan is powerless to relieve the agony of Morovia. The living are miserable and wretched. The sorrowless are the deceived of Morovia. Dead before their time, without healer, without remedy. They risk the sick children and orphans of Morovia. They should be released from destruction. My permanence, your permanence, is the permanence of Morovia. At dawn, the water seller carries his empty cow skin. He dreams of water, the water seller of Morovia. From an inhalation, liberate Morovia. Let its citizens survive. If they live out all their days, so surely will Morovia. The yellow leaves of the tall and gracious pillar raise above a hand praying for Morovia. Yes, months, weeks of destruction. How can this be destroyed? From the dawn of time, God was omnipotent in Morovia. As tyrant strangers and their followers spill the blood of innocent. Oh God, is the cry for help. The strangers surged in, broke down the gateways of knowledge, shattered the windows of learning. They who are illiterate are now the spiritual teachers of Morovia. We are plunged into the abyss of the Stone Age. The painters of vanity have become the leaders of Morovia. The age slides relentlessly backwards. The advantage are heartens of Morovia. In Dupo Road, every second, the keepers of life await death. Why move about in the streets? The lucky ones still out there turn slowly into particles of dust to be carried away by natural forces. Others, the dogs take care of where they lie for hours, for days, even for months. See the sky, but no sun. The people no longer step in where they used to. The villages are deserted. Do the people cross the land really care? Survival becomes an impossible moment. Stories have become impossible to tell in the open. Even the elders can no longer meet openly. The trees are all leafless. There were queens yesterday, but no one wears the crowns. Kings, but the respected robes are nowhere to be found. Useless the life. It is unimaginable. no more crops. As justice lies in the hands of the strangers, they call it jungle justice. Every moment the living are silenced. The strange noise is being made by the strangers. Very fearful it is. Commandos, so-called freedom fighters, they are self-made turtle, united in undemocracy, silencing the living everlastingly. They sent them to the great beyond, a skeleton shadow on a broad-backed wave. Impossible even to find a fitting spot to dig a loved one's grave. There's no sitting around the table where the darkness of barbarism hangs over the land. They talk, but no one hears them. They even scream, but the feelings remain shut, and the days are numbered. Friends are now enemies. The hunt continues only by starlight. Going to bed at night becomes dangerous. Worry begins when the birds begin to sing. The morning is great, high 20s centigrade. Anarchy, the people govern themselves. Is it good for them? The language of love is no longer among them. Day by day, night by night, moment by moment, and minute by minute. Day by day and night by night, state of perpetual conflict. The dark cloud, the order of the day. Even the believers no longer admit new members. The meeting house is sealed. But can they be blamed? It is willingly done. Oh no, but no mourning can restore what once was lost. In the name of liberty, yes, this is how it is now. Even to visitors. As for the indigenous, they are betrayed by what is false within. At the age of 5, they witnessed it. 2 years later, one by one, they are consecrated, constrained. Even the unwilling sometimes become leaders. What a pity, though. What a pity. For every moment the breeze passes by, bitterness takes its place. The mind is no longer at peace. As it is said, even the tooth and the tongue misunderstand one another. The closer it gets, the more they get into themselves in the midst of battle. It engulfed the entire briefing ground. Vision without reality, dreams without results, unbearable alarm sounding. The feelings of yesterday, where is it anyway? Where is it? They asked. Whenever it is remembered, strong emotions arise and the heart becomes dark. Bleak are the hours that follow. Even the newborn are hopeless, and the old continue to count the remaining hours. Celebration is no longer under the sun. They are constantly gripped by fear. Love expressions are no longer on the surface. Success is no longer measured among the masses. What a pity. What a pity. What a pity. All right, thank you so much. I just wanted to share this with you. I published this one. We published here in the UK, a couple of poems or so as an anthology. So I just thought to share this with you. I just wanted to remind myself of with respect to where I come from. Let me go to now. Let's see if Mr. Budy is already here. I think so. All right. So welcome to the show. Is the program, the print news review. The show will be joined by okay, he's okay. Shortly will be joined by Mr. Budy. He's already here. As we can see him, those of you that are watching live uh, on the video, it's great. If you can just share the video as well, that would be great. But Fidel, I will bring you in shortly. Let me just take the short gist of this introduction of this song, and then we go straight to the discussion.
Oh God. Before the people say before one know how to do so. This one. This I was too greedy. I really wanted it back. Before the money the way Joe we are over power me. But I almost hate you. The president taking the money very small. The public say you go cause some people. That what I made me scared. In that for no civil have been able to call a judge or who. But I'm scared. I know what we can do. I want to be able to go quick play. To see my Jew. All the people money and I see I get money replace it. They say thing better. People what know how to do the money. This one. But anyway, I just know the day that I want to steal it. All who steal the money, but we will die as who will kill.
All right. All of us that steal the money, we will die. Such a who will kill us. All right. Let me welcome you, Fidel. Fidel, good evening. How are you?
Hi, Max. I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. Thanks for asking as well. It's great to have you on. Thank you once again, as usual, uh, for coming on your show, on your platform as well. It's great to see you. Um, how's everything?
All right. Well, everything on my end's good. I'm grateful, and obviously your family's doing good, and everything, everything is going quite well.
Right. Fidel, I know we got a specific topic or a specific discussion to tackle right away, but I think probably that what we will do because for me, I think from my end, this is what I decided to do, just to let all of my followers know as well. We started the campaign at the very beginning when Philip Brown blew the whistle, and we jumped on it and we started pushing the bandwagon, asking the questions and repeating the questions as well. So as far as where we are now is concerned, with respect to the arrest and the step and the investigation and everything is concerned, this is what I was pushing for. This is what I wanted to see. And so all of my followers, perhaps if you from tonight or from tomorrow, okay, we're doing another segment tomorrow with Nokofo. If you don't see a post as relative to how it used to come, one after another with respect to the $16 billion, it means that we're following the trend in another dimension. But I think the questions, the answers we wanted, they are now unfolding. So there's no, there's no other way we can go back to be asking the same questions or so. Any other question that has to do with the investigation, the ongoing investigation or so, perhaps we are going to engage those that are involved diplomatically and respectfully through letters or so. So I just wanted to share this with all of you guys, especially on these platforms here that we run here. So Fidel, first of all, before we go into bit and bit, because the report as it is, to me, is huge. We don't have the sufficient time to go really to go by it paragraph by paragraph, and for people to understand. But we look at some of the nitty-gritty part of the report from your own perspective, the understanding of this report after you've been following the stories as well, and then you can give us your own personal thought analysis with respect to what is also written in the report. But let me first of all start off by asking you, as a concerned citizen, patriotic citizen, every time you're spending your own money to put into charitable work, and you go to Liberia, you identify with the need, especially the children. And I know when you heard about this missing $16 billion yourself, you started asking questions, how can I be trying at least trying to save one pound, one p, and to go and share with my people, and what belongs to them is taken away. I know you've been feeling the same way. But overall, when you heard about, well, it was promised. Oh, yesterday, first of all, let me ask you whether you came across the first sheet of paper that was released yesterday by the embassy, and that circulated, and there was a kind of no understanding from people who rushed to talk about it. I mean, they didn't understand it well. How was it? How did you deal with that? I mean, how was it? How did you handle that particular aspect of that one sheet of paper, and also the trend now that followed as well, the arrest issue and thing? Generally, what is your take on it?
Well, the thing is that I think, first of all, thanks for the questions. I think in terms of what was published online yesterday, I didn't really engage with it because obviously, from my point of view, I wanted to wait and get the actual report and then read the report and then make my own judgment based on what was in front of me. So I didn't, I saw people posting things yesterday and I didn't engage with it. Obviously, I was traveling yesterday as well, so I didn't have time to spend time, consuming what was in there. But no, it was intentional not to go into it. I think, in terms of the arrests that we have seen so far, I think there's 3 individuals who allegedly, well, who's been reported to have been arrested. So Mr. Sirleaf, Mr. Weeks, and I think Mr. Hagda or something. Hagba is the person. I believe personally that I would hope that the investigation will go further than these 3 individuals. It's impossible, in my opinion, for them to act alone. I think serious questions, and I think the biggest thing for me reading the report is obviously from pages 8 to 16 is the executive summary, and it kind of summarizes all of the main points of the report anyway. Obviously, if people have the time to go into more detail, they can spend time going into each thing. But there are more questions. My thing is I'm dissatisfied in terms of answers. The report hasn't given me all of the answers. There are more questions coming out of this report than I had expected. So a lot of the things that I read in terms of the facts and their suggestions, there's more questions to ask, and then and obviously as we go through the conversation, I'll ask some of those questions and we'll try to answer them. But I think the report has trumped up a lot of questions. It's provided a few answers, but there are a lot of questions. And I think, I've not read the entire report. I read the executive summary because that gives you, like an overview of what the report is about. And I think the information in there is enough for us to have a good and detailed discussion. Obviously, I was saying to my wife, I'm going to spend time, probably sometime next week, spend some time actually going through the report itself to see other details that might be in there. But I think the key issues that are here when we discuss them further, obviously, we'll bring some of those things up. But look, for me personally, I think there's more questions after reading the executive summary. There's too many questions that are unanswered that we now need to go and find answers. I think the report actually alluded to some of them, where it says further investigation is needed here, and this needs to be taken further. And so the report itself is quite clear that it was difficult to come up with answers because of the whether it's blatant disregard or whether it's the fact that we just have a poor system, or whether people are so ill prepared or their capacities is so low. Those are questions that we have to ask and get answers to, because one of the biggest criticism of the report, which is very damning, not to President Weah and his administration, but to the previous administration of 12 years, that we will have a central bank system, a central bank that does not have a computerized system for tracking money, a computerized system for looking at how things are appropriated, and I think that is very crucial, because the fact that people are signing pieces of paper to move money around is very concerning, in this day and age, when we've had a government for 12 years, previous to Mr. Weah's government. We had President Turley for 12 years who received a lot of money, including, they completed the central bank building. So you can't have that kind of structure, as immaculate as it is, and you don't have basic computerized systems for check and balancing. That just don't make sense. Those are some of the questions that we need to ask and need to get answers to, and need to know what this government and this central bank administration has done for the past 1 year to try and rectify some of these issues, because you can't have a central bank of any country that's running on paper-based documents. That record keeping is done by handwriting and paper-based, and it's not done it's not computerized. Yes, you can have paper-based for backup, but all of these things there should be a computer trail, so that it's easy to move from point A to point B. And one of the things that the report suggested is that the auditors had a hell of a time trying to get information, because either the information were not there, or the central bank, in my opinion, just didn't want to give it.
Yeah, that's I think that is cited in the report. We'll take a bit. We'll take a look at it as well. But Fidel, we have written. I've written the Kroll associate. The question, my question to them was, I'm taking from the standpoint of the language they use at the very beginning, and the report is redacted. Right. So for me, as far as finding out what is the meaning of redacted or redate, we have decided to ask them, I said, well, wait now. If you were paid to do this job, why did you act like I have given you an essay for you to edit for me? Can we have your version of the full investigation, since you say you met individuals within the government? That report seems to be different from this one you have released to the authority, because in this report you say it is redacted report. So meaning, according to the definition, to delete or remove private or sensitive information from a document in preparation for publication. So meaning, for some of us that have seen the document as well, sometimes you come across, you see some very dark inky place or so. All right. why should we, in this kind of a scenario, Fidel, I mean, where the whole nation is at a standstill, they're asking questions. And then somebody is brought in and say, okay, do the investigation and give it to us. Is it in our good, is it in our interest, this particular report, as far as where it stands? I know you say, a lot of questions to be asked. But first of all, let's get some understanding whether these people actually did the work the way they should have done it.
Well, I think, look, the fact that, with most reports of these, of this nature, elements of the report will be redacted. And the reason they are redacted is because, like you said, they're secret or sensitive information. Now, if we take a step back for 1 minute and look at what the Liberian people requested, Liberians requested an investigation into the alleged disappearance of $16 billion of Liberia's money. Printed notes, 16 billion went missing. That's what the Liberian public wanted to know. Where is the 16 billion? Can you tell us who signed for it? Can you tell us how it was infused into the economy? Can you tell us what's happened to those new banknotes? That's what Liberians wanted. The general public did not ask for an investigation into what the central bank paid for the printing of the banknotes. Now, if you read, I've only read the executive summary. If you read the executive summaries, the redactions in the executive summary are only of the payment, what the central bank paid. So what was the contracted amount? Now, that's not something that the public asked to know. So taking that out, the reason that it was taken out is because that is an agreement between the Central Bank of Liberia and Crane AB. Now, if you're writing a report on the location of 16 billion, Crane AB probably asked them, look, we don't want you to release our charging amount or what we, because look, for example, let me give you this other example. You and I live in the UK. We both work here. When you get a new job, you get given a salary scale. So they tell you, okay, this job you make between 40 to 50,000 a year. When you get the interview, you do the interview, you pass the interview, and then you negotiate your contract. There will be people in the organization who will be making, in the same bracket as you, 40,000. Someone else might be making 45,000. Another person is making 50,000. You might negotiate 43,000. So when your contract is being made public, the actual amount in terms of what you agreed with the employer to be paid is personal to you. So that cannot be released to the public. So what you have to understand is, because, for example, Crane AB might charge the Liberian government $1 million to print $15 billion worth of banknotes. But then they might charge the Sierra Leone government 1.2 million. So if that information is released, the Sierra Leone government can turn around and say, whoa. How come you charge Liberia 1 million and then you're charging us 1.2? So that's why certain information, especially as it relates to contractual agreements, so those financial contractual agreements that were between two parties, the auditors have to redact them because they're personal info. They're not secretive, but they're sensitive. It's not personal. Sensitive information to Crane, sensitive as well to CBL. Obviously, we as a country, we as a people have a right to know what CBL has done. But when it comes to an agreement that they've made with a third party, then you have to consider data protection. And if Crane AB has asked the auditors to say, look, we do not want this, because as a business person, you give different deals to different people. You can give 25% discount to Max, and Fidel can come along and say, Fidel, I can only give you 10%. As long as Fidel doesn't find out that you give 25 to Max, it's okay. And that's why that has been redacted, so that Fidel never finds out that Max got 25% discount. So it's not, the summary point is, those are information that we don't need to know where the 16 billion went. Those information, they're not necessary to finding out where the $16 billion went. So that's why they took it out, because it's a sensitive information, or they are sensitive information to Crane AB, who is a contractor that contracts, get contracts from many other countries, not just Liberia. So they have to
Oh, yeah,
protect
yeah,
their market. They have to make
yeah,
sure that other clients don't see the kind of deal that they give. They probably gave Liberia a very good deal.
yeah,
Probably charge us
yeah.
50% of what they would charge other people. So it's a poor country, we'll do it for them cheaper. But then at the same time,
Yeah,
you don't want your other clients to find out, because then it's not good for your business. So they would have asked, Crane AB would have asked the auditors to take those information. And that's why if you read it, like I said, if you read the executive summary where it gives you all of the key findings, the redacted information in there is purely on how much was paid for the contracted for the printing of the money. So that is very sensitive to the third party in this situation, which is Crane AB.
I think yeah, they. I mean, just to reiterate what you just said about them. Yes, I've checked their background as well. They were involved. They were involved in Iraq. They were also involved a couple of years ago with Kenya. They were involved in. They are contracted as well for Somalia and South Sudan as well. So they must be credible. Except that I don't know, for us, maybe because we still find it difficult to comprehend. But let's whether we can actually go into a little bit. Maybe let me read the introduction for those that perhaps even though some people got the report, but the fact of the matter is, if you're not a reader, by the time you see this, by the moment you look at the page count, you say, oh, 68, 67, 68 pages. No, not me. All right, so let's get something out of the introduction first of all. In August 2018, the government of Liberia received reports about suspicious activities concerning the shipment of new Liberian dollar, hereafter LRD. Hereafter means they will be referring to Liberian dollar as LRD. All right, banknotes totaling LD or LRD 15.506 billion to the Central Bank of Liberia, hereafter the CBL, that had allegedly gone missing, and subsequently requested the Liberian National Police, hereafter LMP, and the National Security Agency, hereafter the NSA, to investigate the allegations. Based on initial findings from the LMP and NSA, the government of Liberia established a presidential investigation team, hereafter the PRT, comprised of members of the LMP, NSA, and the Financial Intelligence Unit of Liberia, hereafter the FIU, to investigate the circumstances surrounding the printing and shipment of new banknotes from January 2016 to August 2018. I hope some of you take a note. On September 24, 2018, the government of Liberia expanded the members of the PIT to include the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, hereafter the LACC, and reconfigured the PIT by establishing a technical committee comprising of the LACC as chairperson, LMP as co-chairperson, and FIU as coordinator. On October 1st, 2018, that one now the campaign heat was on now, isn't it? Yeah. 2018, Nathaniel Petre, the executive governor of the we're done with the campaign a long time. I'm going back to 2017. On October 1st, 2018, Nathaniel Petre, the executive governor of the CBL, issued a public statement that, based on an internal assessment, all LRD, that's Liberian dollars, 15.506 billion of the new banknotes has been placed in the CBL's reserve vault, and that no new banknotes were missing. At the request of the government of Liberia, the United States Agency for International Development, hereafter USAID, issued a tender to contract an independent forensic investigation firm to conduct a scoping report engagement to ascertain the basic facts of the alleged disappearance of the new banknotes and to determine rather to what extent a broader investigation would be required into the matter to help achieve a clearer understanding of the currency situation. Let me underline that, then we can hear. I think this is the point you were just talking about. You open more rooms for investigation, isn't it? According to what it's saying here. Now, perhaps after this, there should be room for investigation. Maybe that is what that's the step now the government is taking. Okay, then Kroll Associate Incorporated, hereafter Kroll, was engaged by USAID on November 21st, 2018. That was last year. That's almost 1 year into the administration of President Weah, to undertake a scoping report rather, a year after the independent review into the alleged disappearance of new banknotes. The allegations relate to new banknotes ordered by the CBL from Kroll AB, the Swedish banknote manufacturer. Kroll AB operates as a subsidiary of a U.S. corporation, Kroll and Co. Incorporated. For confidentiality purposes, Kroll has redacted commercially sensitive information and removed the names of known elected or confirmed persons in this report, which of course Fidel was just elaborating on. From Fidel, from the introduction of this scoping report, can one conclude right there and say, well, this is it, we've gotten to where we're supposed to be, let's just move forward, or we need more debates?
Well, the thing is, Max, I actually didn't read the introduction. I went down to the executive summary because that gives you everything that you need to know.
Yeah. No,
and in the introduction to the executive summary, which is just one paragraph, it talks about the fact that Kroll identified at every stage of the process for controlling the movement of banknotes in and out of the of central bank, the approval process, the printing of the banknote, the procurement process, the shipping of the banknote, the delivery, the movement. There were a lot of discrepancies. That's the underlining paragraph of the report. They've identified discrepancies at every stage.
Yeah.
So look, Max, because the thing is, we live in a world where we have to put blame. We have to assign blame to people. Or people, let me rephrase this. People have to take responsibility for their actions. Now, the 53rd legislature had a responsibility. They clearly approved $5 billion. Said to the central bank, we give you approval to print 5 billion Liberian dollars because there was a shortage of Liberian dollars on the market. So we didn't have enough Liberian dollars on the market. So as a result, in 2016, the national legislature said to the central bank, go and print $5 billion.
Yeah.
In the process of doing that, or while that was ongoing, I think a few months later, they wrote the central bank and they said, okay, you know what? We need to get rid of the old currency. In this report, they refer to them as legacy notes because it's like they're going to be outdated, the older liberties. So they want to bring these newer banknotes in. And then they said, well, obviously they do not know how much money they needed to print. So they just say, well, tell us how much you need to print, and then we will approve for you to go and print. But then the fact of the matter is, the national legislature, and we've said this here many times, has a constitutional responsibility to apply checks and balance on this executive branch of government. That's their job. Their job is to make sure that the executive does what the executive is supposed to do. Now, if you ask the executive branch through the central bank to go and print some money, you should be following up to know whether they've printed the money, how the money was brought into the country, had it been infused. So the first level, for me, the first level of responsibility is squarely at the feet of the national legislature, because they're the ones that can authorize the printing of money. They did that. They didn't follow up. And that, for me, is the first thing that we need to try and dissect. That because the legislature knew that they only authorized 5 billion. So they could have told us this months ago. Instead of us waiting for this report, they could have said months ago, well, this 16 billion thing you're talking about, we only authorized 5 billion. So the extra one, they are on their own. But no one, and there are many of them who were in the previous legislature, no one came out to say, oh no, we only authorized 5 billion.
Fidel, I really wanted for us to deal with it when we get to the point. So read it and then and you expand a little bit. So let me hold your thought there for this benefit of people that have been hearing, especially people that are following us on our platforms and things. They've been hearing about this thing. They're hearing from people also. It's not been read to them. But let's see whether we can get a little gist of it by reading what the people wrote here. And then I think from where we are, just 2-3 more points that we will get to that particular point as well. But let's go to 2.2 of this report, requesting and obtaining relevant information. Fidel touched on that earlier. Something is there that didn't go well with even the people that wanted to help. Okay, requesting and obtaining relevant information, because this is their this was one of their responsibilities, first of all. Throughout the independent review, Kroll obtained detailed briefings from members of the CBL senior management team and representatives from Crane AB in relation to the contracts between the two parties for new banknotes. Kroll requested and obtained relevant information from the CBL relating to the procurement and contracting of Crane AB, the receipt of new banknotes from Crane AB, and the movement of the new banknotes into and out of the CBL. Kroll separately requested and obtained relevant information from Crane AB relating to the contracting, shipment, and delivery of the banknotes. And we'll go further. Physical, no, let me go to limitation of scope. You said tasked Kroll to conduct a scoping report engagement to ascertain the basic facts of the alleged disappearance of new Liberian dollar banknotes and to determine to what extent a broader investigation will be required into the matter. Kroll undertook an initial 2-week scoping phase in Monrovia, Liberia, to request and gather relevant information and to obtain debriefs from CBL personnel. The scoping report engagement relied upon Kroll being provided with complete documentation by representatives of the CBL. A member of Kroll's request for documentation remain outstanding. Let me read that again. A number of Kroll's requests for documentation remain outstanding. Certain information provided by the CBL in respect of the movements of new banknotes into and out of the CBL vaults was not immediately available, contained inaccuracies, and was incomplete. In order to fully complete the agreed scope of work, Kroll used the 4-week period following the initial 2-week scoping phase to explore certain issues in further detail to obtain clarity on the key findings set out in this report. Due to gaps in the documentation provided by CBL, Kroll also requested and obtained information from Crane AB regarding two banknote printing contracts that the CBL entered into with the company. The scoping report sets out the basic facts in relation to movement of Liberian dollar banknotes based on documentation currently provided and highlights gaps in the documentation that warrant further understanding. Fidel, from this limitation of scope, there seems to be one party, which is the company, is cooperating with Kroll than the main suspect in the case, which is Liberia. Why should these people have to beg them to give them, to the other people providing certain document I requested for, but our party refused to do it. Why you think something like that was going on?
Yeah, but then that begs the question as well, Max, because when I look at the people who have been arrested, these are, okay, obviously, Mr. Salif is still at the central bank, but Mr. Weeks doesn't work for central bank anymore. So at the end of the day, Kroll came in last year. They asked for documentation. They couldn't get them. What they're saying in their report is not just that we couldn't get the documentation, but the explanation for not giving us the documentation were so they're not proper explanations. Because you can say, look, we don't have this information because the previous administration didn't document them, so we don't have them. And then they would then put that in their report. That look, this is what the central bank said to us when we asked. The fact that it is missing that explanation, because these guys are experts, world-renowned experts in forensic accounting. Yeah. They will not damage their reputation by producing a report that will lack basic information. So if the central bank officials had said to them, look, we cannot provide this document you're asking for because we don't have it, that will no, that would have gone in the report to say, look, we asked, they said they didn't have it. But if you reread what you said, a number of the requests are still outstanding. Yeah. So it means that they've not given any information. They say, oh, I want this paper. It's okay, yeah, we'll find it. Then they're still looking for it since August. They're going flow by flow. They didn't reach to the ground floor yet.
It's like me sending you an email, Fidel. Can you send me the financial statement for 2018 for the Liberian organization in the United Kingdom? And then you just gone silent. You don't get back to me.
No. And then I said, no, I'll tell you, I will send it to you.
Okay,
I don't tell you when I'll send it. Few months later, you ask me for it again. I say, it coming. It ain't reached yet, but it coming. And, I'm still looking for it. So you see, that's the thing. Because if I can guarantee you, Max, because when you read these things, yeah, when like you and myself, we've read these reports, not this report, but we've read reports many times. When things are intentionally omitted from a report, it sends out a clear message. That's what the writer of the author of the report is trying to send out. That look, we asked, they didn't tell anything. Okay. Because if they had said something, they must include that in the report. Because just listen to what they say about Crane AB. We asked Crane AB what? Provided.
Yeah.
So you can draw your own conclusion. You don't have to be an educated person to, so it's not about book business, this one. This one is common sense. If you ask and one person provide, and you ask and there's nothing, it means the other person did not provide. And the other person cannot give a good, because look, sometimes you go into an organization. I've gone into an organization before. I'm supposed to be leading a team. the previous person didn't leave me any, not a good enough notes to get me started. When you go to your first management meeting, they ask you, okay, so how's your team doing? Well, I don't know. I'm still doing needs assessment, because at the end of the day, my predecessor did not leave me with the needs assessment of my team. I don't know what their capacity levels are. So I have to do my own assessment, then decide how to deal with filling these gaps. So you see, that's that. So those are things that do happen, but at least I can tell them that, look, this is the problem. But it seems for some reason that the central bank was or is incapable of just saying why they cannot provide these documents. There has to be a reason. And if they had given the reason or the reasons, it would have made its way into the report. And that tells you, it tells you about a serious lack of professionalism, a serious lack of empathy, a serious lack of an understanding of the magnitude of what has gone on. Because at the end of the day, if I am the central bank, if I'm the governor of the central bank, I am pulling up trees, Max, to find that document to make sure that when these guys come up with their report, there should be nothing in there to say that my administration did not provide the necessary things that they requested for. If I'm the central bank governor, that's what I'm doing. If it means that I have to write memos to people, if I have to go and visit people's homes who were in the bank before and ask for them, and when they tell me no, they don't have it, then I can provide something to say, look, I need a report to say that I asked, and they said they didn't have it. That's why we haven't provided it. But it's like these guys have just taken this thing, because the guy, can you imagine, August 2018, someone come to you and ask you for documentations that you should be able to provide to them, and then you still out waiting to provide the documents, Max? You're still waiting to provide the documents until the report comes out. You're still waiting. It tells you that these guys are not professional at all. It gives you an insight into the kind of government that we're running in Liberia right now. That people will be that unprofessional that an internationally recognized forensic accounting audit company will come to you and say, look, I need documents for this. And the simple thing is, we don't have those documents because our predecessors did not have that system in place to collect that information. So we cannot provide it. And I can guarantee you, Max, if you email Kroll tomorrow and ask them, was there any justification given to you as to why these things were not available, you will very likely come out with no. We just got silence from the bank. Because I can almost guarantee that if the bank had given reasons why those information could not be provided, Kroll would have made it their responsibility to put it in the report that we asked for it. Central bank administration did not have it, so they couldn't. You can't give something that you don't have. So they would have put it in there so that when you and I read it, we can say, "Oh, okay, he didn't have the information, so he can't provide it." But this one is a blatant disregard for the Liberian people. It's a blatant disregard and insult to the thousands of Liberians who went into the street to protest. It's a blatant disregard to the people who are struggling economically in Liberia, that the central bank administration under, I don't even know the name of the government, Patri or Patri, whatever his name is, will not even get up and try to do the basic things to make these guys' job easy. And that is something, that's why I tell you, there's more questions coming out of the report than answers. Why would you not do that?
What we decided, in fact, what we did, Fidel, is that, you remember in January, the central bank released a certain kind of report. I think that was 2018 report. And within the trigger they took that report down, right? What I did this evening, I've emailed that report to Kroll, and I asked them, can you compare and contrast this report and the report you have done for us, and give us feedback, please? So we're waiting on that. Let's see, because that report, I mean, thank God. I mean, somebody, sent it to me immediately after the person took it down and sent me a copy also. So I have the copy, and we decided to do it that way. So we send the report to let them read it, and maybe you see, maybe some of the documents that they asked for and they didn't give them, they will be in our report. But I don't think let's go quick. Let me do the executive summary and look at the discrepancies and see. Let some people understand a little bit better. Let's look at the executive summary. This is the main body of course. But I said the moment the document came out, there where I was looking for, and I went there straight and read. Okay, Kroll has identified discrepancies at every stage of the process for controlling the movement of banknotes into and out of the CBL during the independent review. Fidel, I want you to break down this particular word here, because this word, as it is used here for the first time, from this point, it appeared so many times. What is the true meaning of the word discrepancies for the people that are listening now, watching us?
If you put it in Liberia English, is
Yeah.
drop key. When somebody say you leaking a drop key, that what the people trying to say, that everything leaking. You're not straight. It's just leaking.
So it's just leaking. You imagine you getting water from the well.
You used to draw water from you used to draw water with a drop bucket and got it on it. When you dip it, you got to hold it
By
the time you reach up with a small water, that's what
the water gone. So
nothing can lead them when you
the best definition there. Good. That best definition that people, just in case. So from this point, like I'm telling you, those of us that read the document, you will come across this particular word. Okay, let me go further. It says here, the legislature approval for the printing new banknotes, the procurement and contracting of Crane AB, the shipping of new banknotes to Liberia, the delivery of new banknotes to the CBL, and the movement of funds within and out of CBL's vaults. Kroll's independent review has identified the following key findings based on the documents provided during the scoping phase of work. The CBL ordered new currency totaling LRD 15.0 billion from Crane currency in two tranches in 2016 and 2017. Communications between the CBL and the legislature indicate that there was no clear or consistent strategy driving the process to circulate new banknotes from inception to conclusion. You get that point, right? As a result, this raised the risk of unintended negative economic effects, including high inflation and the rapid depreciation of the LRD. Legislature approval was granted on May 17, 2016 for the CBL to print new banknotes totaling LRD 5.0 billion. However, Crane AB was awarded an initial contract on May 6, 2016 by the CBL to print new banknotes totaling LRD 5.0 billion 11 days before the legislature approval was granted. Now, I don't want to go further before people get confused here. What is your analysis to that point before getting to that point?
Well, the simple thing is those are some of the discrepancies, because according to the laws of Liberia, the national legislature control the purse. They decide how government money is spent. So before the central bank can enter into any contract, before the executive can enter into any contract, the national legislature must approve that contract. But according to what Kroll found out, central bank awarded the contract on the 6th of May. The legislature approved the printing of banknotes on the 17th. The thing is, the one that happened on the 17th supposed to happen before the one that happened on the 6th. You see? So that's where those are some of the leaking things in there. This thing's supposed to happen. It's if Max, yeah, you're supposed to wash your hand before you eat. They say before you eat it right, you must wash your hand. Then you go, you eat it right. If you need eating, then you wash your hand. They say no. Your hand was dirty, saying, oh, you should wash your hand first. You can't go eat with a dirty hand, then you finish, oh, let me go wash my hands so I can be clean. So that's what the thing is saying here. Look, simply put, it's bad. That's a simple way to put it. It's horrible. That shows you clear corruption. And you see, look, Mark, can I just say one thing before we move forward? The first paragraph, it said, as a result, this risk raised the risk of unintended negative economic effect. I don't believe that. I believe that Kroll's way of trying to polish a little bit, they want the report to be too harsh. There is no way you will tell me that Miles Jones did not know what he was doing when he offered a contract 11 days before. Now, the thing we're talking about, so they're arresting the people they're arresting here. My understanding from reading the executive summary at this time, the 6th of May 2016, if I'm right, I think Miles Jones was either the central bank governor at the time. I think, I'm not 100% sure, but whoever it was, knew exactly what they were doing by offering a contract that the legislature hadn't approved yet. So the legislature hadn't approved it. No, go ahead. Yeah, I'm just saying it's bad.
Okay. It says here the CBO procured the services of Crane AB for both contracts without adhering to its own internal tendering policies for procurement. The
I think you jump over a couple of lines, Max.
Oh, Crane AB was awarded, is it?
No, the one that said legislative approval was not granted in the same manner.
Legislative approval was not granted in the same manner as 2016 for the CBL to print a second tranche of new banknotes totaling LD 10.0 billion. Okay, that's a very important one there. In 2017, Crane AB was awarded the second contract in June 2017 by the CBL to print new banknotes totaling LRD 10.0 billion. 4 weeks before two officials from the legislature requested that the CBL replace all legacy banknotes. Let's break that a little bit.
So this one is simple. When they already said, look, we got plenty of money on the market, so let's print 5 billion. So the legislators approved that. Say, print the 5 billion. So we already know they did that some kind of way because they awarded the contract before the actual approval came in. Now, before they could award the second contract, they should have got legislative approval again. But they didn't get legislative approval. All they got was a letter from the legislature to say, look, you know what? Let's clear these old banknotes. The old banknotes, and let's make them legacy. Let's take them out of the market and bring something new and fresh. So you should print something. The legislature never, and as we read further down, you will see this. The legislature never said to the central bank, print an additional 10 billion. They just said to them, we want you to clear all of the legacy banknotes from the market. The central bank had to be able to go back, look at their records to know how much old banknotes were already in the market. Based on that, then you print that amount of new banknotes, because once the new banknotes come, you have to take the old banknotes out and replace them with new banknotes. Once they had read their records and come to, okay, there's 8 billion in the market, so we need to print 8 billion. Then they needed to go back to the legislature to get approval, but they never went back for the approval. They only took that letter from the two officials, which will be down later down. You will see the actual letter itself. The content of the letter is actually read out. Like parts of it's read out where it says The legislature wrote them to say, make arrangements to print. It didn't say print 10 billion.
Yeah.
It just said make arrangement to print.
All right, let me extend appreciation to D. Benjamin Grewon. He said Milton Weeks. The period you are talking about is he's helping us with the information that Milton Weeks was the one in there at the time. Thank you very much for the info. Thank you very much for the info, brother. Okay, let me go to the next one. They say the CBL procured the services for Crane AB for both contracts without adhering to its own internal tendering policies for procurement. The actual value of the new banknotes printed by Crane AB to Liberia totaled LRD 15.506 billion. Thereafter, new banknotes totaling LRD 0.506 billion were printed by Crane AB above the initial contractual amount of LRD 15.0 billion. Something happening there. Records provided by Crane AB and its logistics company provided a documentation trail for new banknotes totaling LRD 15 or 15.506 billion having been shipped by Crane AB. Records also show that the CBL paid Crane AB for new banknotes totaling LRD 15.506 billion. However, delivery documentation provided by the CBL indicated that Crane AB printed and shipped a greater quantity of banknotes to Liberia. Now, this sound here very, very scary here.
Well, the thing, Max, if we break this down, first of all, every organization in the government should have internal policies. If you want to buy something, this is how you buy it. First, you got to go to the audit department. You have to check the invoice. You got to get invoice from 5 different companies. And then the one with the best bid will then be forwarded to the person who signs the check and all of that. The central bank did not even follow their own procedure. They never offer, because all government ministries, all government entities should have, I think, about 2 or 3 bids that they should consider. They didn't even have more than 1 bid. They just went straight to Crane, say, look, provide us a bid, we'll pay, which is against the policy of the central bank. So Milton Weeks, who our colleague just said was the head of the central bank, knew that there was a policy in place that said you have to have bids from more than this amount of people. They only went for 1. So that's the first thing to look at. So obviously they are culpable on that fact, because that was a complete mismanagement of the process. Secondly, Crane AB went and printed 506 million Liberian dollars extra. Nobody asked them to print extra money. They went and printed extra money. And not only did that happen, but then the central bank paid them for printing extra. So it's like you ordering, you go to KFC to order your takeaway. You say, oh, I want $9.99 bucket. They go bring the $12.99 bucket. Then they say, oh, you must pay $12.99. Then you pay $12.99 too. When you order $9.99 bucket, you will usually say to them, no, I ordered the $9.99 bucket, so you have to take this back and bring me my $9.99 bucket.
Yeah.
That's what you would do. That's what any sensible person would do. But instead, our officials felt that, that our money, that Liberian put money in that, pay them the extra money. That's not how you do business. Crane AB had a contract to print, or had 2 contracts to print 15 billion. They printed an extra 506 million Liberian dollars. That nobody, not extra 100, not extra 200, let's say 4 or 5 extra banknotes. Then you say, okay, that mistake. 506. The number is precise. 500. That's the other question. And when I was reading, I'm thinking, so why 506? Because if you make a mistake, you could print 1 million and say, oh, I made a mistake. I printed 1 extra million. But 500, do you know how much paper you got this? So 500, even if it were all $500 bills, that's a lot of bills for you to
A
say
lot
that
of
it's
money,
a
man.
mistake. That was for
Yeah.
me, and I believe Crane AB has questions to answer. Because why? Who told them to print the extra 506? Why was 500? Because at the end of the day, Max, it's very possible that these guys could take the 506 from there and say, oh no, the contract was only for 5 billion and 10 billion. That's all we printed. What would you say? You can't say anything about it because that's what the contract was for. So the question now is, why did we print extra 506? Why did we pay for it? We shouldn't have paid for it because we didn't request it. And that is the other question that needs to be answered.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are on the print news review today. We are actually microscoping the reports. Time is going, not too much in our favor, especially for Fidel. So thank you, all of you that are tuning in, and thanks for sharing the video as well. Let's continue with the executive summary. If you have the report, I advise you, by the time you get it, go to the executive summary first, so that when you go back now to read and you want to read the whole report, it will be connecting you, sentence by sentence. Okay, it says here, on the new banknotes printed and of the new banknotes printed and shipped by Crane AB totaling LRD 15.506 billion, the CBI had injected new banknotes totaling LRD 10.146, so that 10.146 billion into the Liberian economy without removing from circulation and destroying the equivalent quantity value of legacy banknotes. Okay, under the direction of the Minister of Finance, the President's Economic Management Team conducted a separate USD 25, that 2.50 million excess, to mop up excess LRD banknotes with USD banknotes. At the time of the Kroll review, this resulted in LRD 2.3 billion USD 15.0 million being purchased by the CBL from local businesses and foreign exchange bureaus in an attempt to address the depreciation of the Liberian dollar. This action was undertaken by the CBL without a clearly documented strategy. Kroll's independent counts of the physical cash balances in each of the CBL's 3 operational vaults could not be reconciled with the CBL's corresponding fiscal or financial accounting records. Fidel, we still getting in the dark. They keep putting you in the dark. The more you read, you're getting down there.
No, but
what is your understanding with this, where we are?
The first thing is, it's so laughable that the Minister of Finance and Development Planning of the Republic of Liberia, Mr. Samuel Tuwe, actually told the auditors from Kroll that he gave money to people working for government to go to money changer on the side of the road and change money. You know, when they talk about the mopping up exercise, that these guys actually give money to staff of the bank and staff of the ministry to go into the community. So it's like you work there as a driver, they give you 200 US dollars, say go change it and bring liberty to us. That is, that's something that even the Boy Scouts wouldn't do that. That a government will tell international auditors, oh yeah, the money we used to mop up, the way we did it was to hand money out to people. And if when you read further down in the executive summary, it tells you that these people went in that process in and of itself opens up the possibility of people stealing, people lying. So you actually risking taxpayers' money. They're like bro, who working hard. and getting taxed on that money. You're taking their tax dollars and you're mismanaging their tax dollars in that manner, giving it to people to go in the streets and do that. Not only that, but it's the strategy as well in terms of how they have infused money into the economy without taking out what was already in it. So my thing is, obviously this is a scoping it's a scoping report, and obviously when I read the full report, I'll probably get a clearer picture of it. But I want to know whether this fusion, this injection of money into the economy continued under the regime of President Weir. Because now they want to shift the blame, and that will be the attempt to shift the blame to the previous government. This government will not want to take any responsibility for any actions that happen. So we need to know whether they continue the injection of money. Because if they did continue the injection of money, then they have a responsibility as well for flooding the market with the money. And I would then say that they too should be charged with criminal intent or economic sabotage with criminal intent. Yeah, because at the end of the day, it would have been intentional that you already know that these guys previous to you flooded the market with extra money without taking the legacy notes out, and then you continue the same thing. So you keep putting more money into the economy, so much so that the exchange rate went so high that people were suffering as a result. So that's why I said there's more questions that are coming out of the report for me personally than there are answers. Because, like I said, obviously, I've read the executive summary. I'm going to take my time over the next week and read the full report. But I would love to see whether it continued in this government's time. Because if it did, they have questions to answer as well.
They have questions to answer. We got maybe 15 more minutes. Fidel will give us 15 minutes on the hour, then we take a leave. But let's look at a little bit of the summary of key findings, where the key word we start and will continue to be used in the document. 3.2.1 discrepancies in legislature approval and contract approval for the new banknotes. I'm going to read a lot, and then Fidel will just talk a little bit. Legislature approval for new banknotes totaling LRD 5.0 billion. That's 3.2.1.1. On May 17, 2016, the legislature granted approval for the CBL to print new banknotes totaling LRD 5.0 billion. The legislature approval was provided in a document titled Senate Resolution 002. Senate Resolution #002 sets, or number 002 sets out the denominations, quantities, and amounts of the new banknotes to be printed, and states that the printing of new banknotes was to address the acute shortage of Liberian banknotes on the market and the corresponding financial crisis associated with it that could border on the national security of the country. However, Kroll has established that the CBL entered into a contract with Crane AB on May 6, 2016 to print new banknotes totaling LRD 5.0 billion, 11 days prior to the CBL receiving full legislature approval to print new banknotes.
Max,
3.2.1.2.
Yeah, I think what's happening now, the points gone through is just providing more details to those points to say, okay, these are the extra details, just so that it becomes clearer. So if you go, if you read further, all of the points that they made earlier that we were talking about is just going through them in more detail, adding more flesh, to the actual points.
Yeah.
So if you read
for the benefit of some of you that have been ready, we just Yeah, 2.2. Okay, following on from the May 2016 legislature approval to print new banknotes totaling LD 5.0 billion, the CBL requested in May 2017 that the legislature approve a second request to print new banknotes totaling LD 10.0 billion. The legislature did not grant approval for the CBL to print new banknotes totaling LD 10.0 billion. Instead, a letter dated July 19, 2017, from Honorable Margaret Sayon, Chief Clerk of the House of Representatives, and Nabonlo Sengbe, Senior Secretary of the Senate, provided an instruction to the CBL to replace the legacy notes completely with newly printed banknotes, but with a clear caveat that the CBL provide the legislature with details of the quantity and denominations of the new banknotes prior to the printing of the new banknotes. I think that's the time we heard about 100, 100, 150.
No, yeah, Max. Can we just talk about that point? Can we just talk about that point quickly before we move on? Because that's where one of the identification of the error appears. So the CBL went to the legislature the second time, said, look, can you approve this? No. They said no. But then they told them, the caveat there is, they told them, so look, before we can approve anything, you go back, like I was saying earlier, find out how much legacy note is on the market, come back to us, say, look, we got 10 billion, $5, 12 billion, $50, 15 billion this, total 60 billion that we need to print. Then we will give you the approval. You see? So there, the legislature was very clear. So the Secretary of the Senate and the Chief Clerk of the House both wrote the letter and said, look, come to us, because obviously the national legislature has a responsibility to make sure before they go and say, yes, go print 10 billion. So they can't just say, oh yeah, we'll print 10 billion, because they need to see record show how much Liberian dollars is on the market before they can approve the printing of money to clear that money out. So that's what that letter was saying there.
Yeah.
And then the CBL now,
I mean, the thing is sometimes can be so simple.
Process and when they printed the
it's not about negligence.
Yeah. No, it's not negligence.
Negligence, perhaps
they intended to do it.
From the perspective of educational perspective, is incompetency. And this is the part you explain here. Sometimes I remember this always when I go to buy US dollars in any of those shops, the denomination are marked. No people to take it down. I give you 3 10s. I gave you 5 20s. I give you anything. I think they're doing it for record's sake. That tomorrow, if you even coming back to say, okay, I went on holiday, I came back, I brought some money back. I bought the money from you and thing. They will check and cross-check it and say, yeah, you bought this money from us. But this is okay, let's continue, because I think from this point now we just come to analyze and discuss something because of time now. The CBL did not provide the legislature with details of the quantity and documentation of the new banknotes prior to the printing and shipping of the new banknotes. They did not provide details. Notwithstanding the lack of legislature approval, the CBL proceeded to enter into contract with Crane AB on June 12, 2017 to print new banknotes totaling LD 10.0 billion 4 weeks prior to the letter dated July 19, 2017 from the legislature. Let me ask you this: if this thing if this thing was going to happen here, like the particular position are really now. God.
No, but Max, you've seen the movie called Deja Vu with Denzel Washington. There's a movie called this is complete deja vu, because if you go back, Well, if you
somebody
go,
explain to me what I
let's
missed
go back.
it.
Let's go back. 2016, they went to the legislature for approval. Yeah, on the 17th of May. By the 6th of May, they already finished awarding contract. 11 days before they went to get approval. So these guys were doing these things intentionally. Here again, with the 10 billion, they went to the legislature in May 2017 to say, look, we need approval to print 10 billion. Legislature said, no, you can't get approval. 12th of June, they award the contract without legislative approval. That's intentional. That's not a mistake. Then the legislature write them on the 19th of July, 4 weeks, a whole month later, to say, you don't do it, you're going to let us know the quantity first before you do it. So this is criminal intent, Max. This is not, that's why I say, when they said unintended negative consequences, it's not unintended. These guys intended to cheat the Liberian people.
No, it is not. Yeah, I underline that. It is not.
They intended to cheat the Liberian people because you cannot bypass legislative approval the way they did it and expect to get away with it. It's almost like you've already made a decision and then you go to the legislature for rubber stamping. So you just want the legislature to stamp and say, yeah, we agree. So you already made a decision. And that's not how it's supposed to be. The legislature should be the ones approving these things before you. So there should be a legislative approval before the requesting of bids, before the selection of who has won the bid, before a contract is awarded. That's the process that is supposed to go through. Legislative approval comes first before anything else. You can't even put bids out without legislative approval. You must have legislative approval before you even put bids out. So y'all can tender for this contract. Or before you even say y'all can tender for the contract, the legislature must approve. And in this case, or in both cases, the legislature did not provide approval prior to the contract being awarded, which is very, very damning.
Fidel, we are sadly we'll get on a few more minutes. Let's just do some tete-a-tete. Indeed, I agree with you, Mark Aga. You say this is not incompetency, but rather criminal intent. I agree with you. Indeed, I agree with you. Fidel, where we are now, in terms of the unfolding development now, people being run up and things. First of all, let's start with the finance minister. And let's compare and contrast here. Let me give you a little bit of maybe a reminder. Remember last year, one of our ministers here traveled to one of the Far Eastern countries, and he went and met somebody that the government here they didn't want for her to go and meet, but she didn't tell the government yet that she was going to meet this individual group of people. And while she was there, the story came back here. And immediately Theresa May got angry, and they got angry, the government got angry in a way, and it told her to come immediately. So she stayed here, I think, about 2 days to spend going from one place to another and trying, in fact, she was even to come from there straight to Ghana. But they told her to come back because she went out of the policies that have been set. By the time she got on the flight, as she was en route, her letter of dismissal was served. She got to the airport here at Heathrow, and she received her letter of sacking also. I'm just trying to bring the picture of the finance minister, given what has happened. And we heard that his name he has been ordered to come back home. But up to now, I'm sure the whole entourage has stayed there also. Will you say that perhaps if he doesn't come back, even though he has been ordered to come back, is the act of defiance, or you think he's a big potato, nobody should touch him?
Sorry, Max, that's news to me. Are you talking about Finance Minister Samuel Tuwe?
Yeah.
All right, I didn't know. Look, if he's been implicated in the report, then and he's been asked by the Liberian
No, my
National Police
understanding
to
is that
return.
they requested for him. My understanding is that they requested for him to come back home yesterday.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If that is the case, then he should come back home. He has got questions to answer because the Liberian National Police will not be asking for him to come home if he didn't have questions to answer. He needs to come home and answer those questions because this, the other thing we need to look at as well, Max, this is not a detailed report. This is a scoping report. Scoping reports are just they're just scratching the surface. That scratch the surface report here. So this is not detailed. That's why if you see the wording of the report, it say more investigation is needed. More Kroll probably play they play number 10. They're trying to set themselves up so the government can say, oh, you can't do the more investigation so they can score the goal. Obviously, as business people, we do that from time to time. But you can see them setting up themselves like, oh, the team ain't finished you. You need people to come look at it quick Google. Then the government say, but you can look at it for all and say, yeah, we can. So it's a scoping study. That's why it's been concluded as quickly as it has. It's not as detailed. There are things that are redacted, like you and I, sensitive information that we can't see. But if the finance minister has been asked to come home, he should come home. He should respect himself and respect the Liberian institution. Come home, submit himself to the investigation if there is going to be an investigation into him. And I'm sure if he didn't do anything, then he will be exonerated and he can continue to do his job. In the meantime, it would serve that he step aside or, whether it's suspension or whatever, or turn over his duties to his deputies to run for him. I'm not saying he should resign as the Minister of Finance, but at least step away from active duty, let one of his deputies do the work of the minister at the time when his name is cleared, if it will be cleared. And if he's convicted of anything, obviously he'll have to resign or be by the president.
Okay, Fidel. Yeah, because of time, but you give us additional 10 minutes anyway. We want to appreciate you. Let's hope. I don't know how far this is going to go, but any hope for? Do you anticipate any good result for Liberia?
That's a difficult question to answer, Max. We're talking about a country where the mindset of people is something that needs an overhaul. So the Liberian mindset needs an overhaul. We do not have a sense of civic duty to the republic. We are all in it to gain from it. And until we can get to a time where Liberians, especially those in leadership, are actually there to do the will of the people and to better the lot of the ordinary people, we will continue to have these kind of situations. Most people in Liberia have always gone into government to enrich themselves and not to serve the Liberian people. So until we can reverse that mentality, where you go into government to be a servant and not to go to get rich, until we can reverse that mentality. And every time I come on this show, I say, look, the national legislature should be the first place we should start. You need to slash their salaries down to 2,000 a month. If they ain't like it, leave. Someone else will come run to be representative. We need to make government less attractive to people who want to come and get rich. We need to make government about service. You go in there to serve. If you look at our national military, I'll give you an example. If you look at the army of Liberia, the armed forces of Liberia, those guys don't get paid much money. If you look at the national police, they don't get paid much money. If you look at our nurses and doctors in Liberia, they do not get paid good money, but they go to work every day because they go to do a service for their people. That is how the leaders at the top should be seen. The representatives knowing that we're in a financial difficulty at this particular moment in time, should be the ones coming forward. We shouldn't tell them. They should come for happy. For the next 6 years, we're reducing our salary to 2,000. When things get better, we can start to increase it small again. The UK have done it. I'm a big fan of austerity. I think austerity is always the best way forward for people, for countries in financial difficulties. You tighten your belt. When you don't have it, you tighten your belt, you cut back, and invest money in things that are going to better the country. Agriculture, education, healthcare, water, clean drinking water, electricity. Those are things that we need to be put, not giving people 500 gallons of gasoline every month for no reason. Just to sit in the house where they're not even doing the basic. The Constitution gave them one basic responsibility. Make sure that the executive branch does not overreach. Your job is to make sure that the executive does not overreach. They cannot even do that. But yet we're paying these guys thousands of dollars a month. Just make sure that the executive branch should not overreach. They sat there and central bank went and printed money. How is that possible? How is it possible? And they, running behind Kabila Janet, this political witch hunt, the things they're supposed to be doing, they're not doing it. So look, look. I'm not hopeful for Liberia right now. It's a horrible thing to say, but I'm not hopeful. I hope that they prove me wrong, and we wait and see. Because at the end of the day, things are not looking good. But we will continue to hope for the best. We'll continue to share our views and hope that people will listen.
Now, finally, let me pick on Thomas Awaji point here. Dark clouds over Liberia, as far as investment is concerned, with such a report.
Well, I've read, I listened to, and then I've read the President's State of the Nation address, because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. So I listened to the speech, the full speech, and then I read the actual, I got it from the Executive Mansion website, and I read it. And when the president said in his speech that businesses left Liberia because of Ebola, but now businesses are returning, there was one question I had for the president. The president, can you name one of those businesses that have returned? Just name one, that left. I'm not saying the ones that stayed on the ground, the ones that left, like you're saying, have returned. Can you just name one of them? Because that for me is a blatant misinformation to the Liberian people, misleading the Liberian people to say, look, we're getting better, opportunities are here, when people are struggling to make ends meet in the country. Our leaders need to be honest with the Liberian people. Tell them what's going on, let them know, and then we can all work together for the good. But if you keep giving people misinformation and making up stories that do not exist, promoting things that you've not accomplished and achieved, taking credit for things that the previous government have done, then you're not being honest with the Liberian people. We all know, I said it back in January 2018, it will be tough. It will be tough for President Weah, because the world economy is slowing down. The world economy is slowing down. Liberian exports are, prices of those things are dropping. Steel, iron ore, nobody wants to say iron ore from Liberia anymore, because steel, there's surplus steel on the world market. You see, so those are things that makes it difficult for any president. But then you need to be taking steps to help yourself by reducing your expenditure. Max, you cannot, I said this to you the other time, you cannot be driving a Range Rover when you're making 60,000, 70,000 a year, and then your salary dropped to 30,000, you still want to drive a Range Rover. You will end up living in the Range Rover because you won't be able to afford to pay for your house. That's just common sense. Okay. When your income level drops, you have to drop your expenditure as well.
Let me, finally, on this case, as far as where we stand is concerned, by virtue of advice, if you were to reach out to today and seek to advise the president and his government with respect to this investigation or the case, this particular, I mean, I can say scenario that is now open for discussion more. What advice will you be sending to the president? What words will you put in his ears?
Look, the report has highlighted a lot of deficiencies or discrepancies within our systems, from the legislature down to the central bank and all of that. We need to learn from it. We need to make sure we put adequate systems in place to make sure that these kind of things do not happen ever again. So first of all, we need to computerize the record keeping systems at the central bank. We can't keep writing on paper. We need to computerize the whole system. There has to be some kind of way that the legislature can know when people, so when they give approval for certain things to be done, there has to be a time frame for that to be done and for that entity to then report back to them so that they know that it has been done and how. And if it's not being done, the legislature need to get off their backside and call these guys and subpoena them to come and appear before you and ask them, we approve this for you to do. You've done it. How did you do it? When was it done? Where did you get it from? How much did you pay? Tell, what's the report? We need to see the report. So there are a lot of lessons to be learned. And we also need to answer the questions that have not been answered. There are a lot of questions that still not been answered that we need to answer. So the president's focus will have to be on making sure that we put systems in place to make sure that these things don't happen again in the future, but then also making sure that the questions that are still outstanding are answered so that people can know. Like, for example, why did we print extra 506 million and why did we pay for it when we did not order it in the first place?
Yeah. Okay. Fidel, first of all, let me say, because I remember when we went to Paris, the president stated there that I follow everything on Facebook. Anything you say, I can hear it, I can see it also. So thank you, Sekou Kalasko, for joining the platform. I know the president is also watching it. Come, we see you on some of the platforms. We know definitely you are with the president, and the president, that's how he can get us to, he can get to us directly. He say, "Oh, I can watch you. I can know what you're saying." So welcome. I hope you and the team are having a wonderful time in Israel. I don't know what time you're coming back, but I think I will leave Fidel. If you are stay on the platform when Fidel leaves, I will call you. If you don't mind, Sekou Kalasko, I will call you and then you can talk to me. But Fidel, just before you leave, let me just read some of the responses on the dashboard here. Samuel Oduwole, he said, Fidel, nice to Fidel's. Sorry, where are my prints? What happened to me just now? Come here 1 minute. Oh, I don't know what happened to me just now. All my things, everything dropped. All right, let me start from. Oh, okay. I was just about reading Fidel's. Okay, let me just read from where it is. I don't know what happened with the computer just now. Meaning, Samuel Stubberfield says meaning there's some sensitive information left out. Either they refuse to give some sensitive information out that would plunge the country into chaos, or someone refused to provide the key information that we gave a final findings of the situation. Okay, quickly to this, Samuel, you say, if it were in America and Europe, they would have arrested all those people involved from past to present before they are brought to court and prosecuted. Mark say this is not incompetency, but rather criminal intent. Okay, let's go further. It says Stephen Ezra, a guest. Don't you think it is the right of the Liberian people, of the Liberian public, to know how much it costs their national treasurer to perform a piece of tax for them? Should that be standard for all foreign local business or local Liberians government contractors. I think Fidel addressed that already. Let's go quickly. Mark is back. He says here. It says here clearly people can't read. Nobody from government or GOL has shown how the newly printed money was spent. No accounting, nothing about the extra printed money, including nothing about the 25 million withdrawn from the New York stolen or looted. You decide. All right. It's yes, Samuel is a in any financial discrepancies of any financial institutions, even banks, means something went wrong inappropriately. So therefore, many questions that have to be answered for the benefits of the Liberian people, public for cleanliness. Mark is back. Those arrested are now or are low-hanging fruit. The real thieves are still hiding. Okay, quickly to this before we say finally to Fidel Lusu. Liberia story too long, man. Those names should be released to the public. Thomas Awadi. I think that those are names that were covered in the report. You say, yeah, can someone please help me with the okay, let me stop that. Samuel. I'm sorry, those people have documents from the past to the present time about the money transactions. The point that the document would have indicated or indicted all these government officials of the past. Sorry, as you write the thing will jump up. Past and the present government who dealt with the money matter. Yes, I've been calling on that. The document will reveal the recording of the money received and so why they didn't submit to the investigators. Quickly to this, the elephant in the room is the document. I agree with you, Samuel. Quickly to this, let me see. A lot of you are writing. Actually, I don't think because of time now. I guess it's eagerly about to go. So, okay. Those who printed money without the legislature's order, according to the Constitution, should be prosecuted for breaking the Constitution. Period. That's Samuel Duwale. Thanks to all of you for your points. You're departing well, Fidel, for tonight, and we will see you back next week.
I think, look, the only thing we can do now is to read the report in more detail, wait and see how the government in Liberia is going to handle the investigation. Now they have some basics, a third basis on which to start going after individuals and more importantly, making sure the systems are put in place. So now we know, look, that the money is not missing. It's just that there are discrepancies. You know, the central bank is saying, "Oh, we got this much money in the vault." People when counter the money in the vault is less than what they say on paper. So obviously, those are things we need to try and clear out, and the government needs to try and get its act together, or else people will not take it seriously on the international stage, and it wouldn't be good for us as a country. But we keep working and we hope for the best. We wish them the best as well, because when this government succeed, obviously we all do succeed as Liberians, and we want to see the government go forward and the people benefit from that as well.
Okay. Fidel, on this note, let's say we appreciate you very much once again, and thanks for your usual contribution to the show and to Mama Liberia as well. I want to wish you a pleasant weekend as well.
All right, Max. I'm wishing you the same. I'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Good night. All right. That was Mr. Fidel Budy.
Oh, Daddy. Oh, Daddy. What shall we do? Since What shall we do?
Tingadi.
Since Jah.
What shall we do?
What shall we do?
Tingadi.
Since Jah.
What shall we do?
Oh, Johnny. What shall we do?
Tingadi.
Since Jah.
What shall we do?
Jina wata sei kurera rufumu mawoko.
Adi we know touch you now.
Oh, Johnny.
Senteni.
What shall we do?
Tingadi.
Since Jah.
What shall we do?
Oh, Johnny.
Senteni.
What shall we do?
Tingadi.
Oh, what shall we do?
Since Jah.
What shall we do?
All right, let me just read your comments now, just before I let go of you. I'm trying to invite somebody on the platform. Seku, if you're there, please answer my call. Let's hear from you as well. Let me see quickly. Let me go back and read some of your comments. It says here, Thomas, of what you say, Thomas, those names should be released to the public. And quickly to this, Samuel Duvoli. Okay, well, I think I read that. Okay, yeah, Mark Freeman, he says, why are you not asking where is the money? Because there is a shortage of LD on the market, and this money are in Liberia. Samuel Duwale, even the office where you have petty cash to use the office purpose is recorded in a book, like a document with receipts. Thomas Awaji say, according to Kroll, there were many gaps in the documents provided by the CBL, that's the Central Bank of Liberia. And Thomas say there were discrepancies at every level of the auditing process, according to Kroll. Samuel say they are all scared about submitting the document because the records will expose their discrepancies to the public with the names of those who signed document in finance transaction. And Thomas said those crooks are hiding something. Put all of them under house arrest and continue the investigation. Samuel said document is where the secret how this money was used. Thomas said, Max, it was not okay. Let me go to this. Mark Iger says President Tobot was murdered for committing lesser crimes. Oh, is it? Samuel Ozuwali, Thomas, you are right. They planned with intention to steal without being discovered, but unfortunate it got linked through front page. It got leaked through front page. Let's go down a little bit. It says here, how can this type of financial inappropriate transactions attract foreign investors to do business? That's the question Samuel Oduwale is asking. How? Thomas say Tua might defect and seek asylum in Israel. And go down further. Samuel replying to Thomas, he said, Thomas, he will seek financial asylum now. Okay, this is why investors are not going to Liberia. Thomas Awaji and Samuel is back. He said they should seize their bank accounts and recover the money financially. Thomas say 100% on point, Fidel. Thank you. Thomas say the leaders don't understand that running for office is about service to the people who elected you. They don't understand their job functions. And Samuel's part of the punishment financially is to get their bank account from banks all over the world where they bank Liberia money and collect their properties to be sold, to return the money back to government vaults. I agree with you on that. Thomas Abaji says, Samuel, yes, they need to even audit their relatives' account in the diaspora as well. It's not easy for that one. Samuel say these greedy, selfish people are just paralyzing the country economy financially without remorse at the expense of the suffering of the Liberian people. It is annoying. Somebody's very annoyed here. Thomas Awaji said this is the result of having an uneducated masses. I don't know where is that going. Samuel said why the Liberians in the diaspora are helping fellow Liberians in Liberia due to lack of job opportunities, provisions for the Liberia people. Samuel say those who printed money without the legislature's order according to the constitution should be prosecuted for breaking the constitution, period. And then finally, excellent program as usual. Thanks, Max. Thank you very much. All right, I'm not quite sure we will get the brother on, so we are going to leave you for tonight, and hopefully we'll be back again tomorrow. Tomorrow we're having a special edition. Christian Nekofo will be with me. We'll be going inside the document as well tomorrow. All right, until tomorrow, I want to wish you a pleasant weekend. For those of you already in Saturday, I want to wish you a blessed ones as well. Enjoy your weekend. God bless you. God bless the continent of Africa. Above all else, may God bless Mama Liberia. May the children of Liberia be the winner in this case here. Until then, we ask you to cooperate, yeah? Bye-bye for now.
Oh, Daddy, what shall we do? Since oh, Daddy,
good night. Bye-bye. I love you all.
What shall we do?